Hi, I'm Kawa, and this is QWA Podcast. In this show, we invite friends from the architectural fraternity for a casual conversation. From design think tank to integrated practice, we discuss the trials and tribulations of architectural pursuit. We hope this informal sharing will spark conversation among the listeners. Let's begin. Hello everyone. So here with me today is Sam from notoscale, and I think first of all, Sam, happy birthday.
Oh,
I think we
cheers,
have
bro.
known each other for at least more than 10 years.
More
On
than
off,
10 years, yeah.
and we went to
Pergi
Aussie
Berlin,
lah, Europe lah. I think
yeah.
quite a funny school days. But how
Hmm.
time flies. So there's a lot of things because I just update myself for what notoscale been up to. Actually, it's more body of work than I thought.
Tak
Because
ada lah. I mean, not really. It's just, not sure lah. It's just a lot of like small body of work
yes.
combined lah.
But I would say it's fairly important juga that those small escapade. So before we begin, maybe Sam, you can talk a bit what notoscale is.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Kawa, for having me on board. I think it's important to have these type of, I guess, series of like asking people what they do. I mean, what sort of interest they have. I think it's a good conversation to have more of in Malaysia. Yeah, so notoscale is a designer research-based practice. It's actually a side project of me and Nadra, the other co-founder, so a colleague and friend. So we've started this around 4 to 5 years ago. Actually, the name actually started in London lah. So during the final years of study. So now it's been around for around that many years, and we try to engage with social commentary through visual medium lah. I mean, I would say that the easiest analogy for me to say is that we act as journalists within the visual field. So it's like a photojournalist where where a journalist responds to a certain issue through a series of photo essays. So I guess as architects, we respond to the visual medium.
Right. But of course, communicating or getting the message through is definitely through social media. And I would say you guys are very active on the platform with postings and whatnot. But I would say it took a lot of time. And the latest one that you guys launched is the Prince Padang Masya Rakat, which I would say there's a lot of things going on there, as if like like a throwback for the whole half a year. So maybe you can share a bit of what is the thought process behind those prints.
Well, the artwork came out of, I guess, frustration of the sign of the times lah. It's like, you're stuck at home, and then everyone has this anxiety, right?
Right.
So I really wanted something like to take away from this moment, like a memento, you could say. And of course, it's a homage to Super Studios, the domestic landscapes. So
right.
I mean, we're huge fans of Super Studio. So in a way, it's like putting everyone on a ground plane. And the idea of Padang Masya is like, Super Studio, imagine it as an infinite landscape of the future, a globalized future. But in Islam, the idea of Padang Masya is like after you die, everyone is like put on the same plane before the judging by God starts. So this is an abstract way of putting like all those events together in an abstract plane, and seeing how that interconnection of issues happen. I mean, from new COVID, and then you had the Langkah Sheraton. Then I mean, it's basically, I mean, journalists love it apparently, right? Journalists who buy the print say that it reminds them of the stories that they reported, which is quite interesting to know that these visuals and these ways of communicating can go beyond architecture into other fields such as journalism. And I think I mean the things that we do as architects shouldn't be taken for granted in terms of like what we do at school, and so it can go beyond our field generally, and that's what I try to convey like to the larger audience.
Actually, I am more interested on what is happening at the back, the small, minute mamak tables. Is there like a interesting story at the back, or is it?
It's actually like the idea of just social distancing,
Yeah.
post-normal, and just like the idea of like, it started off actually with, you know, the idea of mamak chairs. You know, mamak, the institution the mamak is one of the places that can infinitely grow in all directions, given the infinite space.
Yes.
I mean, if you see like contoh macam what's that in PJ, the one in the lorong at the back, nasi lemak tu.
Yeah. The mamak belakang. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name. Okay.
Yeah, so basically they took up a whole alleyway because there was the alleyway, and then for example you have like Murni, you know, it expanded like across the whole front of the shops. So I mean, given any amount of size, they can expand infinitely. So it was that idea of social distancing, and they just expanded infinitely into the landscape.
Yeah, I think I think we have this soft spot for eateries. We don't really mind if eatery took up those corridors, those roads, closing parking bays, stuff like that. But I saw in your IG, we are on the last copy of the print. Is it still available or?
No, it's still available. I mean, we've got around like a half of those editions. So it's an edition of 50. So we've got around another 20 or so. So I mean, it's still there. If anyone wants.
So they have to go through your contact you through IG.
They can DM us through our IG.
Yeah, all right. So I would say that the main feature of notoscale work is they are very timely. I think despite of what they actually convey or the message you guys try to get across, is the topic of the moment lah, I would say. So yeah, as you mentioned, it is more or less like a journalist reporting on the scene, and I would say it's fairly brave to publicize your conviction or your position on the issue, because usually when there is commentary about social, political, and economical, an issue or narrative, architects usually refrain themselves from actually commenting on those or taking sides or publicize their position. So where do you see your work bring or influence the conversation of that specific topic?
I think we know me and Ajra know that this thing, there's so much that visuals can do to affect something. But in the same way that journalism, journalism as a form of writing, that can't solve anything as well. But it's just to put the readers or the viewers so that they're aware of these issues. These issues are like inherent and they're there, and it's to make people aware that how can you respond to these issues, or putting other ways of seeing the problem, and then we're not necessarily giving the solution. I mean,
right.
part of notoscale is quite abstract.
Yeah.
But the idea is that for you to interpret what that solution might be, or if you see a solution, some people don't see a solution, some people totally hate it. It's fine with us, because I think hating it or loving it, that's doing its job. Because it's good that you're invested. If you hate it, it's good, you're invested. If you love it, you're invested. It's not good if you're like indifferent. We don't want indifference. Indifference means that it doesn't register, so there's no response. So I like it. Like, for example, we did the 1MDB Jolo shape
right
as the Malaysian Pavillion. And then it's nice that a few weeks later, he just designs came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I mean, we know that a lot of like people hated it, but a lot of
Yeah.
people equally loved it. So I think
Mhm.
it's like it is what you want out of it, lah. It's a response, like any medium of art. It responds to what your positions are, and then it responds to what you have inside your mind already. So it's just a good barometer lah to see what people are reacting to.
Yeah, but yeah, so talking about people, right? I think
Mm.
I would say most architects don't really have the time to
Mm.
interact with their audience. But you guys have this platform, Rapid Rabu, right, on
Yeah.
Instagram, which happening on every Wednesday.
Where we
And
try to, it's a bit
we
slow.
try. Yeah, I mean, total respect lah to both of you, Sam and Adra, because try to really reply and engage. I saw that even the posting has some. I mean, you have to accompany the text or the answer
Yeah.
with some image, so they
Yeah.
took a lot of effort as well. And maybe you can share what is the most ridiculous or hilarious question that you guys had to entertain, and do you guys really reply all the questions?
I mean, we try to reply all. I mean, to be honest, the ridiculous ones comes from our friends lah.
All right.
But I think the best kind of comments is the ones that you don't expect that. But suddenly it becomes this sort of a self-help zone,
Mm.
this rabu because we get like younger kids or like students, right? And then they tell us the problems, and then like, oh, you have to become some sort of a psychiatrist for that moment. But it's interesting that I think it's interesting as a macam for us, it's like a survey lah of the general mood of the time in terms of
Right.
what students are feeling, what up and coming designers are feeling. I think we cater more towards the younger generation or our peers lah. Not really like the older guys lah,
Right.
tapi macam more of, and then we realize that I think there's a role for us to become positive voices, in the community, in terms of just helping people, find the direction,
Agree.
helping people macam push through, difficult times, because I think it's a difficult time for everyone, especially for younger graduates, for people trying to figure out their way in the world. So I think macam you yourself and Yasmin are like leading the way, and then you guys are being an example to a lot of people, including myself.
We try to.
Yeah. So I think it's good.
I think this generation is slightly more open for interaction and access. They longing for access lah, in a way. I think the intention to interact is good. It's just that maybe some of them is, I don't know. Some of them do any of them like have higher expectation of what you guys reply and DM you guys further, or go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that, I mean, people try to like really get in contact with you, and then really try to ask. I mean, most of the times like architecture related, but some of it is related to maybe career path in terms of macam how would you do things differently macam after graduation, and then so it's interesting lah, seeing getting to know your audience, and then getting to know them on a more intimate level.
Right.
Is something else.
So I think few months ago, I think just before MCO, there's a fundraiser activity for a Malaysia Pavillion to be on Venice Biennale architecture. Of course, that particular Biennale has been postponed next year. So the thing that struck me is that the video feature all young budding architects, right? I think Pia and Taufik from PAM, and then you and Adra, obviously. And I saw some images of the work has been presented to the former youth minister, and basically with PAM President Lilian. So maybe you can share a bit with us from the beginning until to that presentation with Minister. What is the event leading
Process.
to that? Yeah, leading to that.
So I think the VB one was actually done in a short time because so basically the story is PAMNEX is the graduate wing of PAM, led by Sofia and Shabuddin, and TOF approached notoscale and approached some other guys basically to do a team to possibly lead the Venice Biennale competition. So this was in August. We actually took off in August last year. So the initial idea was for us to actually become the committee to open it up into a competition to invite other people. So we just formulate the brief but the time was too short. Like we figured out where you needed a jury and then you needed the whole you need to open the forum to ask for entries because they wanted it locked by Jan. So it was a very short time, and then the other thing is that we weren't sure of funding.
Yes. Okay.
So we couldn't guarantee that if we opened it up to other contestants that if you'd won it that you would get the money to actually materialize the Biennale. So we couldn't. We felt kind of much at odds lah. We wanted to open it because we wanted to make it more democratic lah in terms of all younger generation of architects get the chance to try out to go to Venice lah kan. But at that point, without the money being like a solid thing, because we don't have a vehicle, like British Council. So in the UK, the way that the VB is set up is that it's like British Council is like the main patron lah.
Right.
They have the funds. They open it up for curators. Curators enroll. Curators get interviewed, and then curators there's a committee that picks out which team from curators is the best. So and then that's like done 1 year earlier.
Yeah.
So it's done like right after the VB the previous
one
is over, and then they straight away. So in terms of that vehicle, we don't have a vehicle.
Is it because we don't have a ministry that take ownership of this event? Because previously it was under MITI, so international trade. So now PAM tried to coerce it into a youth ministry. So, but the thing that struck me is that this new team is fairly. I mean, this is unprecedented. There's no years actually have this. I'm not saying that the old guards are bad. I'm just saying that they are not involved in this particular round. It is fairly refreshing, I would say. It's just that now, since it's been postponed to next year, and you guys have a bit more time to prepare. So is that a second attempt to get the funding backing up this for next year? How close are we to get that funding?
So the position was before MCO was that we already had the place.
Right.
We already locked in basically in like with the Venice Biennale committee, and we locked in with the Italian embassy, and then we locked with Syed Sadiq lah, the Ministry of Youth.
Former
Ministry of Youth. So we were this close, but we didn't have money. Because the hard thing about Malaysia is that architectural culture doesn't belong to any sort of funds. It's not under tourism. It's not under MITI. It's not because architecture as an industry is under Ministry of Works again.
Yeah.
So it's not a building. So it's not under Ministry of Works either. It's architecture culture. So there's no specific funds for what we do. Even under Ministry of Youth, there's no funds. So it's really hard in terms of getting architecture out there for Malaysia because there's no grants for it in that huge amount. So we had a place, but we didn't have the money to lock into the renting of VB.
So
of Venice.
it will be more or less in Asinale.
Asinale, yeah.
Yeah.
Asinale.
So yeah, I would say it's always a stumbling block. And of course, previous years, there's some models that try to make it financially plausible. I'm not so sure, but again, I'm not so sure how well that represent the pavilion. Maybe you can talk a bit about the pavilion design itself. It is called Sepermainan. It's sort of like I saw a lot of children's. So maybe
So that's
yeah.
The one in the what's that, the GoFundMe is not the final version lah. So the final version is actually we located it in Asinale lah. So the idea of Sepermainan is we wanted to create a sort of a negotiating space that represented Malaysia in terms of we thought of the idea of we have a multiracial culture, and one of the earliest ways of us navigating through that multiracial diversity is at playgrounds or at like play spaces, because that's when you are informed of another race and then how you negotiate with them within your personal boundaries of that space. So we wanted to highlight a pretty prominent park in Malaysia actually, which is Merdeka Park, built by Stanley Jukes in 1960s. So the idea of the park, Merdeka Park, as being a public national project that was important post Merdeka, and that was an important place in KL for a long time until the 80s or something. So where people gathered. So we wanted to sort of reference elements from Merdeka Park and then try to rebuild it in that sort of an inflatable structure lah. Yeah. So among the exhibits of within Asinale, within the space that we have, is highlighting the images and the research from Merdeka Park.
Yeah, I would say in terms of coordination, in terms of appreciation, our neighbors seems to be better at it. Like Indonesia, Thailand, they are what do you call it? A frequent quite a regular countries lah. I went to Biennale and I saw some of the images of Indonesian young architects are presenting their works. So obviously funding is a problem, but where do you think architecture should go? Is it because most countries put it under culture and arts, Ministry of Culture and Arts, if you look at the patronage of many pavilions. So is there a way where we can institutionalize the seni bina as one of the seni budaya?
I think Taufik and Sofian did a really terrific job of trying to push this agenda of placing architectural culture somewhere within any of those ministries in terms of like getting a solid like funding or a category for this type of work. But ultimately, because we really tried to do it transparent, without any cable, without any political
ties,
so it's hard because we are young people, and then we try to do it quite transparent in terms of using the right channels, and so, and then we didn't take on any sponsors because we wanted it to be quite independent, and so but I guess it's a good exercise. I mean, in terms of whoever is the next team, and then we would like to give them our advice,
some pointers
in how you navigate. So I'm not sure. I hope the next guys figure it out.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky lah. I would say the previous Biennale entries was I think right. It's sort of like crowdfund. Whoever participated, So it's okay. We're not going to discuss about that or maybe comment on that.
Yeah.
Maybe before, it's almost 7. So before we go, do you have anything in the works that will be out soon?
We have a few writings, and then we have a few where we're involved with a show in Singapore with the Singapore Design Council over there, with a group over there lah. We're involved with a writing piece is coming out for a journal from the design Melbourne School of Design Inflection. So that'll be coming out in August or something.
Okay,
but
so
we're not doing any build projects, but
yeah, understood. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, as of now, does this pandemic give an opportunity to relook how things are? But I would say some of the things that we do is already, prepare us in a way.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, notoscale was already quite nomadic and mobile,
right?
So we were, to us, this is, everything is digital now, and we've always been working digital. So in terms of rethinking the models of the architects, maybe in terms of, of course, there might be more, not less projects, but more, challenges to obtaining a project.
Right.
But maybe the time now is to diversify on what you do as architects and to open up to other possibilities.
All right. I think that's it for this session. Thank you, Sam. You can follow notoscale on Instagram, spell no2scale with all small letters. And please subscribe to QWA YouTube channel. And thank you again, Sam. And
thank you, Qhawa.
Thank you for joining us. Until next one.
Until next time.
Bye.
Ciao.
If you enjoyed the session, be sure to subscribe to QWA YouTube channel so you will be notified if a new episode is posted. Thank you for listening. Until next time.